There she is. There she is. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Welcome to my live. It's great to have you.
Thank you so much. It's great to be
Yeah.
here.
Do you want to tell people like how you help people, who you are? Just give us an intro.
Sure. So, I'm Alessia. Lovely to meet you. And my website is called The Healing Central, which means that we work on a lot of types of healing, from movement, yoga, and dance, to astrology, to tarot readings, to shamanic healing, to energy healing. So it's like healing across the board.
Yeah, and me and Alessia go way back. How long have we known each other now? Over 10 years?
Over 10 years,
Over
like
10 years?
since 2008.
Wow, like we met in a very, very specific time. It was amazing when we met, and we were very different. Hey, Sukpal, we met, and actually, Sukpal was there when we all met as well at Alchemy. That's how we first met, and we
Yeah.
became astrology nerds ever since. It's so good. So, Alessia, you've been doing astrology for a long time now, and I recently attended one of your workshops, which was really like brilliant. I feel like a lot of the times people talk about astrology a lot, but there's not much body work that comes with it. And I feel like a lot of the times there's things that we are, there's themes around what we need to release, what we need to do, but there's no actual physical body movement that comes into like, well, where do I release? Where would I release from? And what do I release, So I feel like that's really important. That's where you and I come in, because we both are body workers, body movers, body shakers. So tell us, everybody who may be like virgins to Mercury retrograde, like, what is Mercury retrograde in a nutshell?
In a nutshell. So Mercury retrograde is, first of all, what we need to know is that when we think about astrology, is us standing on the earth looking up at the sky. Yeah. So actually, the planet itself doesn't actually go anywhere. Okay, it doesn't go retrograde. When we look at the sky from the earth, it appears to be going retrograde. That's what happens. And so this event happens 3 times a year. And it has been noted during this time that it is an auspicious time, it's a good time during this retrograde to go back and look at things, rather than to begin new things, or to go back and pick up where we left something off. So essentially, it is a time where everything is conspiring for our highest good, so that we solidify our foundation. And if we want to move ahead with something, we go back and we make the foundation really solid, so that it can have a chance to really be successful. Yeah. So it does have a bad rap. However, it really isn't. It's just a time where you have a little bit more time to get stuff done. And obviously it will depend on where it falls in your chart.
I think that's the thing. People get scared because they are afraid of looking at what goes on inside you, because the things that are going to start coming out is what we get scared of. We want to push down. We don't want to see that person who suddenly comes back after so long, or all these kind of old things that we get to revisit, which we're scared of because we're not being given the tools. And one of the questions I got asked, like, what is Mercury? What does that mean? Like, I know, and you know, that Mercury is the planet of communication. So I know when I'm thinking about movement and body, I'm thinking about the throat chakra. I'm thinking about how I communicate, how I say things, how I listen to things as well, because we can also misinterpret things, because we might get in the way of thinking about something else, but not actually leaning back. And I feel like to be in that lean back energy is really important, to be able to see the whole thing. Because you said something the other day was about it's very reactive when we get into Mercury retrograde, but actually we need to pause and just reflect. So can you talk to us more about that?
Yes. So the energy of this Mercury retrograde is a little bit reactive because of the sign it's in. Yeah,
Which
so
is
if we
in?
look up at the sky, it would be in the constellation of Aries.
Right.
And Aries is quite a fiery sign. It's quite an impatient sign on its, maybe shadow side, but it's also a cardinal sign, and it's a sign that starts things, that is excited about stuff. It's like, You know, when you're a child and you're excited about a new project, you do it with this innocence and with this, yeah, I'm going to start. It's the energy of spring, yeah, full of hope. But at the same time, it's the energy of, okay, has it happened yet? Oh my God, you know, I want it now, I want it to happen now. So it's a fiery sign as well. So in a way, the sort of urgency we get from it comes from the fact that it's retrograding in Aries. And in terms of what you're saying about like the throat chakra and communication, yes, like Mercury is about communication, also the thinking mind. So how we're thinking, how we're speaking, but it affects all the chakras in terms of communication, because the throat chakra rules your expression. But then imagine you're speaking to, you know, somebody you really love, you would drop into your heart and speak like this. Imagine you wanted to speak in a meeting, you would speak from your solar plexus, so you speak in a different way. So your throat chakra is how it all comes out, and whether it's blocked or not. But actually, it affects everything. Yeah? They're all connected.
So what do you think are the main myths and misconceptions about Mercury retrograde?
The main myths is that everything has to go wrong. Yeah. So, for example, well, you know, computers are going to go wrong. There's going to definitely be miscommunications. And then actually you get to be right about things. Oh, well, it's Mercury retrograde, so the trains aren't going to be whatever. Or this is not going to work. That's not necessarily true. The only truth is that we don't know. The way we can use it is like, well, maybe if I'm not sure about the train timetable, let me double check it. If I'm going to buy a new computer, let me just read the small print and make sure it's really the one that I want. Yeah. So it's just saying, do what you need to do. Just be a little bit mindful about it, just to make sure that that's what you really, really want, and that it's really good for you. And you're, you know, you're doing something from a good place. You're coming from a good place of doing it.
Yeah, because I also feel like we need to reframe a lot of these things, you know, the things that are feeling a bit negative or a bit dark, and actually how can it work in our favor? And who do we need to be in order to be able to move through the retrograde and not let the retrograde, like, you know, have negative effects on us because of the way we perceive it to be.
Yeah, right? I think it's the way you frame it in your mind. So Mercury is the planet of thinking as well. Yeah. So really thinking, actually, I have suddenly got extra time to do this project, to do this. Yeah. I wanted to push forward with it, but you know what? I'm going to take a second and just make sure that everything about it is really great. Everything about it is in its place. It's a bit like when you build a house. You build a house, you buy a plot of land, if that's what you're doing, then you make sure it's, you know, sound, then you dig your foundations, then you build the house, then. If those preliminary stages are not really met in a proper way, then your house is going to be shaky. Yeah. So you just say, can you just hold on a minute and just do the groundwork? Yeah. Is there any groundwork you need to do on what you want to do if it's a project, or in yourself? Yeah. And if people come out of the woodwork, maybe there is something else that needed to be learned from that person, or maybe it's another test to see if you've really learned the lesson. Yeah. So it's a bit like, okay, let's just make sure it's all good, and then you can charge ahead with everything. So it's almost like someone's giving you a bit of extra time to do stuff, which is lovely.
But do you find, because I find for me is that, okay, the spring energy is like really like vibrant and strong, but then suddenly I'm pushed against this retrograde, so there's kind of like this friction between the two. Like, how do you navigate that when you have this kind of bubbling energy of like vroom vroom vroom, like this Aries energy, but then also, oh my God, I've got to fall back now. Like, how do you deal with that?
So the way to deal with that is also to consider what else is going on in the zodiac. So two things are good to consider. First of all is that Saturn, the planet of lessons, karma, of time, of taking things very slowly, lessons learned through hard work, is conjunct Mars. Yeah, it's very, very close to it. Mars is ruling Aries. Mars wants everything to happen now. It's like, let's do it, right? And Saturn's like, well, have you really checked all the, 100 points in the small print I set you? Yeah. So if you look at it in a way that makes you impatient, you've got an energy that wants to bring you slow to an energy that wants to bring you fast. However, if you bring those two together, then you have Saturn, the taskmaster. He gets it right. He does all the groundwork. And you got Mars, this massive drive and fire. If you put those together, it can be an extremely focused time. Yeah. So charge ahead. It's almost like put your intensity in the right thing rather than just going ahead no matter what. Yeah, I'm going to put all my intensity and all my excitement, I could even call it impatience, into getting this really great. And then it's going to fire off. Yeah, it's almost like you put rocket fuel, great fuel in your car, and then it's really going to go. So it's a matter of really sort of bending your thoughts around it a little bit. Yeah, and if you feel that you feel, oh, I'm getting impatient, sometimes if you fight against it, you're taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back and 2 forward. So you might as well work with it, you know, with what energy is
Okay.
happening.
So you're saying the theme here is focus.
You can use it as focus. We always have a choice.
Mm.
You can be in the whole retrograde and say, oh God, you know, it's like, no, I'm not going to get anything done. Everything is bad or whatever. Or you can say, how am I going to use this to my advantage? Because, you know, we
That's the
have free
question, isn't it?
so it's up to everybody. Maybe somebody needs to be a little bit annoyed for 3 weeks. That's okay. You know, it's really up to them and how they want to use it. But the potential is there. The opportunity is there. So does someone want to take it or not? Only they can choose. Yeah. And there's one more thing that is good to consider is that this retrograde is going back to conjunct Chiron. And Chiron is the planet of the wounded healer of our core wounds. So what it's saying is there anything deep inside that we can heal during this time? That actually maybe when you go to push forward with these active open wounds within you, they're not making you effective. Maybe they're making you into somebody who's like, you're still in the child mode of, oh my God, I'm a victim, you know, somebody did that to me, which as a child, they probably did. But now you have a choice to defend yourself. Maybe you can shift. We can all shift the mindset of that and heal that active wound, which is still subconsciously affecting the way we move forward. So as you can see, there is a whole kind of conspiracy for us to become better versions of ourselves, to actually eventually get stuff done better and faster and more effectively and heal.
Yeah, I love that. So what would you say to somebody, what was the first step would you say to somebody who needs to heal a core wound during this time of retrograde season?
So first of all, look back and see what house it's in. Yeah, if in doubt, you can ask me, you can ask, I think Dirish knows enough about astrology to tell you. Find out where it is. For example, for me personally, it's in my house of home and family. Yeah, so, you know, I've been looking at a lot of grief, to look at my dad passing, a lot of issues of abandonment, because, you know, like my family left, you know, our country when I was really young, and we had to go into places where I didn't speak the language, I didn't know anybody, feeling a little bit the odd one out, all this stuff. And go back, and what it is it's almost like you're doing a soul retrieval on yourself. So you go back and see, is there a part of me that is still hurt by that? And do I need to go and reassure that part of me and bring it back? Because only I can do it. There's a child me over there still hurting about something. Let me go and comfort that child. And you literally go and talk to it. And you say, you know what? I'm going to look after you now. Maybe they couldn't give you the love that you wanted, but now I can give it to you. So we give ourselves the love that somebody else couldn't give us, which can be immensely empowering.
Yeah, so you would say somebody needs to like facilitate that for you, like some sort of one-to-one session, right?
You can do it in a one-to-one. I try and get people to sort of learn to do it themselves. You know, if they come for a session, we say, okay, let's do it, and I'm going to talk you through it, so that next time, maybe you can do it on your own. And if you really can't, then you can come back. So you become, you know, you're able to pull yourself together, literally, to bring yourself back, yeah?
Yeah, that's important. And then what would you say about, I mean, just jumping a little bit now. I mean, if anyone has any questions, just put it in the chat below. I've got some nice comments below there for you, Alessia. But here's one. Grief is the themes, Siobhan's saying. A lot of people are experiencing that at the moment. What would you say about contracts, signing contracts during this time? Because there's always this thing about you shouldn't sign a contract during Mercury retrograde. I mean, every Mercury has its own theme. What would you say about this time?
So definitely, if there is a real urgency about doing it, try and take the urgency out of it. Step back and read the small print. Read the small print. Also, you know, if it's your ruling planet, you know, if you're like a Gemini or a Virgo, or you have a lot of planets in those areas of your chart, it's gonna, you know, or in Aries, you know, from 27 to 15 degrees of Aries, it's gonna affect you more. Yeah, but if you have to do it, because obviously life goes on, we're not going to stop living because of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, just read the small print. Make sure that you're reading a contract, read it twice. Just think, okay, let me just put all my attention into it, focus into it. For me, if I can delay it, I do. But if I can't, then I'll just take a good time to really pay attention to it and make sure I've read everything and make sure, okay, there's nothing I've missed out, which can be possible during this time.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the thing. A lot of people get scared of not wanting to sign contracts during this time and then lose an opportunity because they were scared of Mercury retrograde, right?
Yeah.
So how long is Mercury retrograde on for? Like, when did it start and when does it finish?
So it started on the 2nd of April.
Which
And
is yesterday.
What's today? 3rd. Yeah, so it's like 2nd of April until it goes on until the 25th. However, it's interesting to know. So during that time, Mercury is going to go from 27 degrees of Aries back to 19.
What does that mean? If you can, for no one who knows what that means, what does that mean?
What that means is that if you were looking at the sky, there was a constellation of Aries there, then you could say that Mercury, you could observe it going from up there back that way, yeah, if you want to put it in sort of layman's term, yeah? So from Earth, it would be going from one place into another place in the sky, okay, and it would appear to be traveling backwards. So because of this, and I'm not going to go into detail about it, but there are shadow periods. So there is the time when it goes retrograde, which is the 2nd of April to the 25th. And then there is a period before that you can already feel it and a period after where you can already feel it. Okay, so you would have started feeling the Mercury retrograde from about the 19th of March. And then it started really on the 2nd. And then once it finishes, so finishes means that Mercury starts to go forward again or appears to be moving forward again. Yeah. Then you're going to feel that until about the 14th of May. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, and these periods before and after, they're usually periods that, they're made to sort of give you a clue of what it's about. Yeah. So say at about 18th, 19th of March, what was coming up for you between 18th, 19th until about the 2nd? This will give you a clue of stuff you're working on during the actual retrograde. And from the 25th of April to about the 14th of May, it's almost like you're, rebalancing yourself after having done the work. Yeah. So it's just the shadow period is slightly bigger than the actual, 2-3 weeks itself that it lasts.
Yeah. That's really interesting. There's a question in the comments from Supal. She says, I have 4 planets in Gemini, including Mercury. I'm wondering if things are intensified with this collection.
Yes. Or when you have like a stellium of planets all together, it usually makes the expression of that sign stronger. Yeah. So if the qualities of Gemini are that you're very sociable, very gregarious, very, some people can be very androgynous in the way they look, depending on what house it's in. If you have lots of planets there, it's almost like you get, more energy. If you have Mercury there, you'll be an amazing communicator. You'll be on social media all day. You'll be the life of the party, for example. If you have Venus there, you look a certain way. Mars, it's how you drive yourself. So if you have more planets in one place, it's almost like you've come in order to express that aspect of yourself.
Like a multi-talent almost.
Yes, multi-talented with that focus.
Love it. So just to kind of review, the themes I'm hearing for this retrograde is to obviously lean back, like be reflective, put the intensity of the Aries and the Mercury into focus, and also begin to observe and look at old wounds that come from the surface from the past, right?
From the past, yes. And depending on what area it's in, you will know what the theme is. So I was giving you the example. For me, it's about home, family, the 4th house, subconscious patterns I might have, inherited from my parents, their parents, stuff like that. If it's in your house of career, maybe you're looking at your career and vocation and how you work or anything like that. Yeah.
So that's what any, for those of you who are watching, I guess you could pull up your charts and look at where Mercury is in your chart. Look at where Chiron, is it Chiron? Chiron's in your chart, which is
Look
the
at what Chiron is your chart. For the transit, you're looking at Aries, if you know your chart, and you're looking at 27 degrees of Aries to 15 degrees of Aries. And what's happening? Do you have any planets in that area of your chart? Is, are those degrees, say, that your natal planets, are they in any of those places?
Mm. And what are you doing at the moment in order to work through this period?
I am literally solidifying everything. So I'm going back, looking at, well, there's also stuff that I started before. So, so I had an idea. So, for example, I'm painting my own set of oracle cards and writing the book with it. So I'm going back to see, okay, can that be optimized? Can I paint a few more? Do I want to add any elements to it, for example? And certainly I'm doing a lot of soul retrieval, because for me, it's, it affects my natal Chiron, which is my core wounds. Something, okay, let me see if I can really, do a massive healing now, because it's almost like you have tailwind on a plane, like you go a bit faster, so it's something is, assisting us from doing that.
Mm-hmm. And then also you're doing your dance as well, aren't you?
Yeah,
like
yeah. So the dance.
we did, yeah, because it was amazing what we did on, was it Monday?
Monday.
You were saying that to release all the things from our belly area, our sacral chakra area, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was because that's where we store our feelings, our emotions, and it's our gut center. For women, it's the womb center. It's quite a powerful area, and in that area, I mean, a lot of the movements we were doing were very, very, circular. And so circular motions and movements really help to shift a lot of things that are inside there. So I think, and you said something very interesting. You said something about, you related it to yoga, from linear movements to more shaking and moving has more of an impact. Can you talk a bit more about that?
Yeah. So if you obviously we do both
Yeah.
yoga and dance. Yoga movements are a lot more linear. For example, you have postures called triangle pose, bound angle pose. Yeah. So you have very linear posture.
Yeah.
If you look at extended side angle, you want to do a diagonal line. Yeah. There isn't a lot of circular movement in yoga, which obviously affects the body in a different way. If you look at a belly dance movement, you have a lot of figures of 8,
Yeah.
which is the infinity symbol. A lot of circles, figures of 8, and they're very deep into the body. You have a circular, half circle motion in Dhanurasana, in the bow pose,
Yeah.
yeah, and in the back
Yeah.
bends in yoga. But you don't really have anything so much that moves in a circular way in the womb. Yeah, in the womb area, that second chakra area. And you're able to actually, with a figure of 8 like that, you're able to really hit the right side of the body, the left side of the body, which could be the feminine, the masculine, the past, the present, and really get in that area and stimulate places that some of the yoga postures don't quite touch.
Yeah.
And it's the reverse as well, of course.
So if we link it back to astrology, would you say Aries is the masculine force?
Well, it is ruled by the planet Mars. So, and Mars is usually a symbolic of a feminine, of a masculine sign. Yeah. So Mars, we're looking at fire, we're looking at drive. Yeah. So yes, I guess it is, in a way, it's sort of like a masculine energy.
And then what would be the opposing? Would be Libra, wouldn't it?
Or a Pisces as well. Pisces is like, very open,
Yeah, because you spoke about balance before. I can't remember in what context, but you were saying about having this balance during this time. And I guess, if we think about Aries, it's all about the me. And if we think about Libra, it's all about the we. And that is the opposing sign, isn't it? So you're saying to because again, I'm coming back to focus, I'm coming back to healing, I'm coming back to balance. Like these are the three themes. And then you come back into the mind as well, right? And what old things begin to surface in the mind then begins to manifest in front of us, right? So what's your mental practice look like at the moment?
My mental practice, so I practice transcendental meditation, which is one thing I don't teach, but I think it's awesome. It's really, really good. And it's a very simple practice. I practice all Kundalini meditations, all sorts. However, my practice of meditation now is transcendental meditation. It's 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening. And I really find it helps me focus.
Yeah.
aside from the movement, yeah, from the
Yeah.
movements, I weight lift
Mm.
and I do yoga, and obviously I, dance.
Yeah. Something I'm thinking about is like also, when you're talking about, I mean, we could call these retrograde thoughts that come up from the past, is like maybe setting an intention before, like, what is it that needs to be mentally released? And then go into meditation and see what begins to come up and maybe write them down and then do some
Mhm.
sort of ritual releasing in that sense.
Yeah,
Because a lot of the time people get stuck in their heads and their, thoughts just continue just to be like a washing machine going around. So simple things like that will just really help to illuminate the mind to be able to help to release, to maybe not make the same mistakes that we did in the past retrograde and those
yeah,
retrograde nightmares, and actually, you know, what we discussed before is like reframing things. So actually, we actually empowered by this retrograde rather than feeling like a victim towards it.
yeah,
Right.
definitely. And looking, like looking back, I tell you what, a really amazing practice is, and it's a really simple practice, yeah. Even if you meditate, I don't know, 5 minutes a day, literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 3. After you finish meditation, just have a pen and paper and just write whatever comes to mind.
Rewrite.
But really quickly, if you don't have time, just take a minute, and don't look at it for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, when you look at it, you might find that every 2 or 3 days, the same stuff is happening over and over again. I'm like, oh my God, and one day I'm happy and one day I'm not, and one day this and one day that. I'm like, oh, really? Was that really me? And it's a really
That's,
nice way of catching
yeah.
yourself out if there's thoughts
I
that are not
think
really
that's
beneficial.
really helpful because I feel like, because you're talking about this window that we're in at the moment, and actually to kind of tap where we were at, to then at the end of the retrograde to kind of look back and thinking, wow, this was actually going on in my mental, to what's going on now. That's a really interesting practice. And you've done that before, right?
I've done that before, yeah, and it was like really like, I mean, at the time it was really enlightening. I was like, oh, really? It was like, oh, I'm thinking the same stuff over and over again. Oh my God, how do I not bore myself to death?
Yeah.
But I didn't realize I was doing it until I saw it myself, you know?
Mm, I'm going to try that. I'm actually going to do
It's
it
really,
starting from
really
tomorrow.
interesting. And then you might also get some great idea,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, so a lot of great ideas I get during meditation. Like when I was stuck about what to call the healing central and how to get around it and stuff, I thought, well, I'm going to start transcendental meditation or meditating every day
Mm.
without thinking about that. But I thought, I know it's going to come to me. And then suddenly obstacles began to be lifted
Mm.
from me.
I mean, it's interesting you speak about the ideas that you could even have past ideas that you thought about now actually come to light because of the season we're in. Maybe it wasn't the right season for those
Yeah.
ideas to come into fruition, but
Mm-hmm.
they come out now. So that's quite interesting, I think.
Yeah, and maybe it wasn't the right time,
Mm.
But if you've had them before, then you're like, oh, brilliant, this is an idea that's coming back that obviously maybe I can develop it.
Yeah.
And I have a tailwind of the Mercury retrograde that is allowing me to develop it. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
it's a good time to go back to stuff I started. So I'm solidifying a foundation. Maybe I'll discard the idea, but at least it's not there, taking up esoteric space
Right.
in my ball of creativity.
Mm. Tanya's asking, do you write down your obstacles or your ideas?
I try not to write down obstacles, otherwise I sort of dwell on them. Like for a long time, I kept a journal, a
Yeah.
diary. This was years ago when I had a lot of work, where I still do, but I had a lot more work to do on myself than now. So when I started studying addiction and stuff. And then one day I thought, you know what? I'm just filling up these pages with pain. Let me just deal with it. So I burnt everything. And I thought, let me just focus on the positive. And there's something that really I need to deal with. Let me just deal with it there and then and really try and heal it from the root, which is why I do all these practices, because one wasn't enough. Yeah. And that's why I thought, if you're going to write a journal, it's great. However, just beware that you're just coming, like a negative flow of stuff is coming out of you. If you have to have it, then maybe do a ritual with it, burn it afterwards.
Yeah.
But for me, dwelling into the negative was not useful. It was not helping me so much.
Yeah, I feel like if you're going to write down your obstacles, yeah, definitely do a ritual, burn it, flush it down the toilet, and then go take a bath. Then you're
Yeah.
just releasing and cleansing. That's what Louise told us, right?
Yeah. And do a salt ritual or something.
Oh, yeah.
Or, say the obstacle towards, I don't know, my business, whatever, okay, the solution. Yeah. So I think, okay, solution. So I try and turn it into positive.
Yeah,
As much as I
alchemizing.
can.
That's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. Amazing. Do we have any other questions, everybody? Thanks so much for joining as well. This is pretty much the
Thank
last thing.
you.
I was so inspired by what Alessia had done in her work. I'm thinking, yes, more of us need to know about this, and we can all kind of heal together and move forwards, you know, which is really great. Tell us about what the Healing Central is. You've mentioned that a few times.
So the Healing Central is sort of a hub where you can come and empower yourself to learn to heal yourself. Yeah. So there's different types of yoga offered. Yeah, like yoga for addiction, yoga for eating disorder, yoga for belly dance. I'm doing a yoga for belly dance on Saturday. Also, Goddess Isis ritual dance. So we dance in a circle, and literally it's like to heal. And astrology, and there's also different types of reading, like an astrology reading, like a healing session, a shamanic soul retrieval. There's basically everything that I've been using for many years that I've tested on myself. So it's coming together. That's right.
We've done I feel like you and I have very similar paths in that way. Like we've trained a lot in the same things.
Yeah.
So it's very like organic when we speak and relate to a lot of things. A question from Siobhan. She says, anything on close friend contacts or contracts? What do you mean? Anything on close friend contacts? Any idea? Does she mean contracts? What do you think, Alessia?
Close friend contracts. I mean, she could be talking about soul contracts.
Contracts. So she's talking about contracts. Anything on
contracts? Yeah. Well, usually soul contracts are, if you think about how a soul retrieval works, is when there is an original trauma that you're too young to handle or you can't handle for some reason, a part of you becomes disassociated from yourself. Okay? When that happens, obviously we want to be whole. So the disassociated part of yourself, which is still in you somewhere, is trying to come home. And the way it tries to come home is by reenacting the trauma in different guises over and over and over again. Yeah. And this could bring in somebody who you have a soul contract with. Soul contracts are always under review by both parties. Yeah. So if something changes within you and you heal yourself, that contract could be null and void because you've learned a lesson. You know, and also see where it's coming from. Yeah. So sometimes if you go back and see what part of yourself is actually repeating that behavior, you might find that there is a small child who is really afraid of X, Y, and Z. And when you bring that soul part home and you reassure it, adult you knows that you don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. I hope that answers that question. And soul retrieval is something that you do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that too. And I think it's a really powerful thing. I think a lot of time people have a lot of, needs to be some sort of long-winded thing, but it doesn't really.
No, it doesn't.
It really, really doesn't.
You know?
And yeah, come and ask either of us if you guys want soul readings, retrievals, and like that. We both offer all of that ourselves. Any other questions before we wrap this up? This has been really insightful, Alessia. Thank you so much for joining me today. Anything else you want to say? Alessia, anything else you want to say?
I think we're talking to everybody else. I was like, let's see what everyone's saying.
You're the only one speaking, and you and I, so.
No, the only thing I want to say is that, you know, and I think you're into sort of this sort of healing as well. I'm not so much about, you know, making somebody a victim of my healing. I really, really am for, you know, everybody who wants to empower themselves to really learn to empower themselves. So, you know, so you know, you come for a session, that's great. You come for as many sessions as you want. However, you know, what I would really like is that somebody is empowered, so they'll say, okay, I've got this, yeah, and maybe I need a little bit of help over there, and I'll go and get it, but I am going to empower myself to have the best life I can, using whatever tools I can, yeah? I really believe that people can do that, you know, I think it's possible.
I feel like also, when you have a session, you have the shift, but actually the transformation is what you continue with. What you put into practice every day is that daily transformation of keeping that going. Otherwise, you just have that one session and not put anything else into action. you're not going to see the results of what that gets to be on a long-term thing.
Definitely.
I think that's a lot of the times when people think, oh yes, this person can do everything for me and heal me, but actually no, you've got to DIY as well. Like it's, you know,
Yeah.
you've got to
I
take the
think,
responsibility.
yeah, I think it's important to be really fiercely committed to your own healing. And that comes when you're so fed up with suffering that you just don't want to do it anymore. You know, if you're really that fed up, probably it's a good time to come and see me. But, you know what I mean? Because, you know, I've come to that place where I'm like, okay, you know what? I've really had enough. I need to find a way. I want results. I don't want to just sit and do this over and over again. So commit to your own healing. Do everything you can to be all right. You know, wake up, and if you're feeling negative, go for a run, go for a walk, go for something.
Move.
Something out there if you want
Move
it, you know?
Move it, don't abuse it, you know? That's
right.
Hey Melzy, thanks for joining us. What was I going to say? I was going to say something else. There was that, and oh yeah, you said something. I just want to touch on quickly. After the retrograde ends, you said there's a what did you call it? Is it a shade? A shade time.
Shadow period.
Shadow time. So what is the shadow time after
The
the
shadow time
retrograde?
after the retrograde, it's almost like you consolidate everything you've gone back and learned. Yeah, just to see if there's any more bits. You know, you need to do. Yeah, it's a bit like, you know, you've sort of gone back and you've, you know, done all the decorating of your house, and it's fine. It's like, oh, let me go back and see if there's any filler to put in here and there, or any bits that, you know. So you're still sort of consolidating. It's like a consolidating
Consolidation era. And how long does that last for usually?
Until the 14th of May.
We got a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, just something to consider. Something to consider.
Yeah, I do find though, like so far, I know we've just started the retrograde, but I do find it's quite light right now. Is there anything to look out for that we need to be like, okay, fasten your seatbelt, or is it not that deep?
I mean, there is like a massive sort of solar eclipse on the 8th happening. But it's really good because it's happening during this retrograde, and on top of it, there's a new moon solar eclipse. So it's a massive new beginning. It's the biggest of the year. So that's lovely in Aries.
Yeah.
During a retrograde. So it's doubly saying start something, but start it well. Yeah. Start something, start it well from the right premise. And also at the same time, it will be affected by this, you know, Saturn conjunct Mars. Yeah. So it's this new eclipse, but it's saying, okay, start something well, do your healing. Yeah. It's almost like you can begin a new self, a new way of being with it. And so again, I feel it like it's conspiring towards our own healing. And just before that now, I think it's tomorrow, we got a great opportunity to release grief, because Venus is coming very close to Neptune in Pisces, and Neptune is very much about the divine feminine, but it also, you know, it is in charge of grief, if you like. So Venus coming in is a lot of self-love and, you know, meets grief, and can we just love ourselves more and just let go of anything that we don't want. And it's on the last, you know, sign of the zodiac, you know what I mean? Neptune is at the very end of Pisces, so Venus is sort of wrapping things up, you know. It's almost like, okay, let's do a little, how can I love myself more? What do I have grief that I need to let go of? And then she moves into the sign of Aries, which is different, cardinal, happy, forward energy. Yeah.
Another question from Sapal. She says, I've been having body aches. I wondered if that had to be connected, almost forced to slow down.
Yeah. Usually it is. Usually it's like slow down. Usually slow down, and, you know, I mean, I don't know a lot about it, but I heard somebody talk about solar flares.
Yeah.
You know, and
I was talking to her about that recently. There is that at the moment as well. So what's your best way to kind of, I guess, not survive, but let's just say protect yourself from these solar flares, because we get them all the time?
I don't know, but I like to think that, you know, we're here and somehow we adapt to our environment. You know, we've survived for, you know, millennia, you know, so somehow if we just go with it, if we have less resistance, you know, the more we are resistant to what's happening, the more we sort of go with the flow, the more I think we're just going to adapt. And survival is a natural thing of life, is to survive and to be better off, you know. So if you just go with it, because if we also dwell about this is wrong and that is wrong and this is happening, then, you know, life becomes a little heavy.
Yeah, I think think if we go back to the basics, like, you know, going back to nature, like swimming or going for a walk in the park, or using the elements to, you know, just to regenerate ourselves through this time as well. More of that than ever. I think when you're in a concrete jungle like we live in, it's just, it gets a bit more full on.
Yeah,
I think there's
does.
those kind of, because we're not rejuvenating, we don't have our feet in the soil, we're not getting that Mother Earth, like, you know, care and
Yeah, we're not
balance.
grounded. I think the grounding is important. I mean, I think there's a whole website about grounding.
There's a whole
Putting your
book
feet
about
in the earth.
grounding.
You know, it's like, you know, like go to the park, put your feet on the earth, you know, obviously if it's freezing cold and it's muddy, you don't want to do it, but you know, it's meant to be great. A great thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Alessia. It's been so
Thank you.
insightful. Thank you, everyone, for all your messages and contributions. If you'd like to get in touch with Alessia, you can DM her on Alessia underscore. What is it? What's your handle? Alessia
underscore Avellino.
Avellino.
Or go to the
And then
Healing Central and you can contact me
what
from there.
is that? Healingcentral.com. What is it?
Thehealingcentral.com.
Amazing.
Easy peasy.
She's got wonderful offerings. Go check her out. She's a super talented. She's an artist as well. Super amazing artist. What else do you do? It's so multitude. It's just a multitude of, you know, talent. Check her out. She's incredible, and we go way back, and it's amazing to know you, and it's wonderful to see your growth as well. I think for us all, our growth on this journey has been amazing. So check her out. And do you have anything else coming up? Do you want to plug?
Anything else coming up? I've got a class which is exploring yoga and belly dance on Saturday. And I have a retreat which is going to be belly dance with Dance Body Mind, which is a lovely dance school. And I'll be teaching Isis Goddess Dance Yoga there in Glastonbury. This is on the 19th. I think there's about one place left or something on there.
Sweet. And the thing on Saturday, is it in person or online?
It's in person. It's in person. It's in Kentish.
It's taking place Kentish Town in London.
Down at Clean Break is called the studio.
I think we all need a clean break.
Yeah, we do.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. Love to chat again. It was great. It was really good, and we've got some really nice people that was online. It was nice to see a lot of you there. Take care of yourselves and each other, and we shall see you all soon. Bye, everybody. Bye, Alessia.
Bye. Love.
Bye. Thanks again, everybody, for joining. And you can join me again if you want to. I do a live every Tuesday called Chakra Tuesday, where we do a little meditation and I do some energy work. So if anybody wants to hop on that wants a little chakra cleansing, clearing, I do a little bit of that on every Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. As well as that, I've got the Shakti for your dance teacher training starting next week. So if you want to move energy out the body, understand your emotions to shift them quicker, you know, step into a magical practice for yourself, or even just apply this if you're a yoga teacher, if you want to apply this into your moon circles, retreats, all of that stuff, you get to do that and so much more. So if you want more details, send me a DM or go to my website, dirish.com. Otherwise, take care of yourself and each other, and I'll see you all very soon. Thank you so much again, Alessia. Loads of love, everybody.
Love.
Bye.
Bye.